Hello everybody, welcome to the JavaScript course. In this video, I'm going to introduce objects. So in this video, I'm going to discuss the object literal, and then I can tell you the way to set up empty objects. Also, I can add some computed properties to an object. I'm also going to discuss the objects set up using function expressions. I'm also going to introduce the in keyword in investigating the content of an object. Finally, I'm going to discuss the way to copy references of objects. Now, let us see the HTML file first. The HTML file is very simple. It just has a title and a heading shown here. And this HTML file is going to link to a JavaScript file called myscript.js, which is stored in the JS folder. And I'm going to use the strict mode to do the JavaScript. So I have to say use strict at the very beginning of the JavaScript file. And now I'm going to set up an object using object literal. So we can see the format of setting up an object right now. If I want to set up an object, I have to say let the object name, and I'm going to set up some key and value pairs to describe the object. The format is like this. I have a key, and then I give a colon, followed by the value. Okay, you can see that I have two key value pairs. The first one is about the type of the vehicle, which is motorcycle in a string format. And the second key is the year, which is in 2015 in an integer format. And you can see that I use commas to separate the two key value pairs. And then I'm going to add one more key value pair as follows. I want to say that the vehicle is already licensed. So if I want to set up a key which is consisting of two or more words, I can add space in between the words, and I have to enclose the entire phrase with a pair of double quotation marks like this one. Okay, and I set it to be true, which is a Boolean value. And I can see that I still use a comma even though it is already the final key value pair to be put into the object. So we can understand that the trailing comma is allowed for the final property and value pair as well. And it is important to remember that I have to add a semicolon at the end of my object declaration. And how can I access the content of the object? I can have an example like this one. Vehicle.type. Vehicle means the object, and .type here means that I'm going to access that particular key. And this alert function is going to show me the value corresponding to the type key. So let me save it and reload the page. Save. Reload. Yes, you can see that the type is motorcycle shown here, which is this one. And also I'm able to show you the other key value pair content. Save. Reload. Yes, 2015 is the year of the vehicle. So you see vehicle.year is going to access the value corresponding to this year property or year key. So how about this key value pair? How am I going to do to access the content of this is licensed key content? Let me show you now. If I want to specify a key in the string format, I have to use square brackets to help me access the corresponding value of this key. So let me save it and reload the page. Save. Reload. Yes, you can see that the value true is printed out here. Okay. So remember, we have to use the square brackets to specify the keys which have spaces like this one. It's space licensed, okay? And then I'm going to show that the key names can also be stored in a variable. So let me see an example like this one. So suppose now I have a variable called my key, which is just a string called is space licensed. And you can see that vehicle with a pair of square brackets enclosing the variable name my key is going to be put a value of false. So you can see that the content of the original is licensed value will be turned to false. Okay, if I do something like this one, I'm able to see that the original variable content, which is having a key called is licensed, is going to turn to be false. Save. Reload. Yes, it is false. So I'm able to change the content of the key value pair even though I'm already outside the object declaration by using this approach. Okay. So if the variable name has a space or many spaces, we have to enclose the entire string phrase with a pair of square brackets. And I'm going to show you that the key can also be in a variable form. How about like this one? My key variable is type. Vehicle.type is now bus, so it seems like I'm going to link the variable my key to the type key of the vehicle object. Okay, so the type is now a bus. If I want to show the content of the variable with the key called my key, I should link to the vehicle.type value. Is it possible? Let me show you now. Save. Reload. Yes, you can see that the vehicle type is now a bus. So I can use some variable to help me access the key rather than just always using the key provided by the object itself. Okay. And now I'm going to show you a way to delete the property. Suppose I want to delete the year key and value pair. I just used the delete keyword to help me do so. Of course, if I want to delete a key value pair whose key is a string with spaces, I have to use double quotation marks, and I have to enclose the entire string with a pair of square brackets. Save. Reload. Yes, you can see that the original value of year was 2015, but now it becomes undefined. So if the key value pair is deleted, when you access that particular key value pair, you will see undefined being the answer. Of course, when I want to see the key value pair of the is licensed key, I can have the same answer as undefined. Save. Reload. Yes, you can see that the key value pair is already gone, and the response coming from an alert window is just undefined. Now I'm going to tell you something. We can use a dot to indicate a key if the key name is a simple one, like this one. Otherwise, I just use the square brackets to indicate the key. So we have already seen this situation in the above example. The next topic is to set up empty objects. We have two ways to set up the empty objects. One is by using the object constructor, and the other one is by using object literal. So I'm going to demonstrate the first approach. Okay, let empty object 1 equals new object. When I use object constructor, I have to say new object. object is a certain class provided by JavaScript language. And when I set up an empty object, I just use a new keyword to indicate that the object has to be created. And then I set up a reference to that particular object. And the reference is called empty object 1. When I want to see the content of the empty object, what will I see? Save. Reload. Yes, I will see object. It means that I've set up an object quite successfully. And is there any way to add some property to this particular empty object? Yes, it is possible. So I'm going to show you now. If I say something like this one, I'm going to use empty object 1 dot property to add a certain key value pair to the empty object that I created shortly. And then I can do the alert window. Save. Reload. Yes, the content of the value of that corresponding key is shown here, a property, which is a string. And I'm going to show you the other way of setting up an empty object, which is called object literal. It is quite easy to do so. I just use a pair of curly braces to set up an empty object by using the object literal approach. So this particular empty object has a reference called empty object 2. When I use the alert window to show the content, what will I see? Save. Reload. Yes, I'm able to see that an object is already created. Okay. For the object coming from an object literal, I'm able to set the key value pair just like the way we used shortly. Okay, you see that I can use the same property name as that used in my previous object, as long as the two objects have different names. Okay, so empty object 2 has a property called property 1, whose value is another property, which is a string. So when I want to show the alert window, I'm able to see the content of this key value pair. Save. Reload. Yes, I can see that another property is coming out from the alert window. That means the property value pair can be shown correctly. The next topic to talk about is the computer properties. We can understand that the property name of objects can be obtained from user input or by assignment or by some computed approach. What does it mean by this one? We can see an example now. So now I'm going to get a value called info, and the info is obtained from a prompt, whose default value is the age. Of course, I will use double quotation marks to indicate that I'm going to show the default value as a string. And then I set up an empty object called student. Now I'm able to set up the student object as having a property called age, for example, if I just accept the default input. And the age corresponds to 18. Let's see if this is really the case. I do the alert window. Save. Reload. If I accept the default value, I can see that student bracket info is just referring to the age of that student, which is 18. Is it really the case that the info variable corresponds to the age key? It is really the case. If I use the age rather than info to represent the key, I will get the same result. Save. Reload. Yes, I'm able to see that student has and age of 18. So we can see that the info name here is just the computed properties. So info is the computed properties, which is obtained from the prompt window. So instead of using the age key directly, I can use a computed property to access the content of a certain object. And now I'm able to show you another topic, which is about setting up an object using function expressions. So let me set up a function first. Now the function is pretty simple. I want to set up the type and the volume of some beverage. So if I pass some values to the function, I'm able to get the type and volume as the content provided by calling the function. So how can I use the function to set up an object? Let me show you now. Now you can see that I just set up an object by using the function. So the beverage is now an object. Why? Because it contains two key value pairs, which is called the type and the volume for the two keys, and the corresponding values are just orange juice and 300. 300 here can mean 300 milliliters, for example. So when I run the script, save, reload, let me cancel it, and I'm able to see orange juice being the type of the beverage. So a beverage object has a key called type, and at the same time, the beverage object has a key called volume, whose value is now 300. So it is a way to set up an object by using a function expression. So we assign a function to a certain variable. In this case, the function can return some key and value pairs. That's why the object, by using function expressions, is able to tell us the key and value property. Okay. Actually, we have a shorthand form of setting up key names. Let me show you the idea now. If I set up a function like this one, I don't really have to say type and volume. I can just use type and size followed by two combos. That already indicates that I'm able to set up the long form. So the type here will be passed to that variable called type, and the size parameter is going to be passed to the size key corresponding to that particular function expression. So let us see how I can use this function expression to set up an object. So you can expect that my computer object has two key value pairs, which is type and size. And for the type, we have notebook, and for the size, we have medium as the value. So let me see the result. Save, reload. Oh, let me comment out that particular line. Line 61. And let me try again. Save, reload. Yes, I can see that I have notebook here, being the value of the key called type. And I can see that the word medium becomes the value of the size key of my computer object. And I have to say something here. The key names can be numbers or reserved words of JavaScript. We don't always have to use simple strings to do the key names. So let me show you an example. So you see that my three key value pairs have some different kinds of keys. 99 is an integer, so I can still use integers as the key. And let is of course a certain reserved word. Same for alert. So you can see that they are still valid key names. How can I show you? Let me try to access the key value pairs. So when I want to see the value corresponding to the key called 99, what will I see? Save, reload, and I'm able to see the string content 99, which is the value. Okay. And now I'm going to show you more about the key value pairs of this object. How about using a string called 99? Let us see. Save, reload. Yes, you can see that I can still access this particular key value pair. The reason is that the number keys are converted to strings by default. So using integer 99 is the same as using a string whose content is 99. So that is the major idea. The number keys are converted to strings. That's why I can use either integer or a string to access the particular key value pair. And of course, I'm able to show the remaining two key value pairs. If I use SumObject.let, save, reload, I'm able to see 8, which corresponds to this key value pair. If I want to see the value corresponding to the key called alert, save, reload, and I'm able to see that it's true. Okay, is it straightforward enough? So the naming of the keys can be very flexible. Okay, the next topic to talk about is the in operator. So I can use the word in to access the content of a certain object. Suppose I have a city whose name is New York and whose weather is sunny. If I want to see whether a certain key is in this object or not, I can use the word in. So you can see that area is not the name or the weather. So you can see that it is false when I want to find out this particular key in this particular object. Save, reload. Yes, you can see false because area is not one of the keys provided by the city object. Okay, so this is the way to use the in keyword. The next topic to talk about is the for in loop, which is this one. I can use it to really traverse the key value pairs of a particular object. So I just use the for in loop like this one. I want to access the property in the city object, and I'm able to show the key and the corresponding value for that key. Save, reload. Yes, the first key is name, and the corresponding value is New York. The second one is weather, and the corresponding value is sunny. So I can use for in loop to loop over the key value pairs in a certain object. And we had a simple situation to use the for in loop. What would be the situation if the keys are a bit more special by using numbers and other names? Let me show you this complex situation. So in general, the key order is as follows. If you use the for in loop, the numbers are shown first in ascending order, and the other keys are shown in the order of creation. So it is a bit abstract. That's why I have to use an example. Now I have 5 key value pairs, which contain numbers and some strings. If I use the for in loop, what would be the order of the showing? Let me see. Before doing so, I have to comment out the previous alert windows. Okay, let me show you now. Save. Reload. Yes, the first number is 23 because we have to understand that the numbers are shown first in ascending order. 23 is the smallest number, so I have to show 23 first. And of course, the corresponding value is 23 in string. The next one is 45 because it is the second smallest number. 45 is the value in string. The third one should be 87. And the value is 87 in the string. And other keys are shown in the order of creation. So some key comes first. That's why I show some key here. And the corresponding value is true. And the final one is a value because a value comes after some key. And of course the value is 61 for that key. So that's why we have to mention the order of showing up the key value pairs by using the for in loop. And now I'm going to tell you some interesting things about the copying of references. So how can we do the copying of references to another variable? I can show you an example now. Before doing so, I have to comment out all the previous alert windows. Suppose I have now an object called new vehicle. I'm doing the copying action. Now you can see that I have a variable called bus1, and it is assigned by the new vehicle reference. So you can see that both names refer to the same object. Why am I so confident in saying so? Let me show you the content of bus1. And I'm able to compare the content of bus1 with that in the new vehicle object. Save. Reload. Yes, I'm able to see that bus1 has a year value which is equal to the year value of new vehicle, which is 2012. Okay. So it seems like we have connected the two objects together by using two variables. And how about this situation? If I set the bus type of bus1 to double-decker, is it going to affect the new vehicle content? Originally, it was a bus for the new vehicle. And if I set the bus1 type to double-decker, is able to affect the new vehicle? Yes, it is really the case. Okay, I'm able to check the new vehicle type as follows. Save. Reload. Yes, you can see that new vehicle is now a double-decker. It seems like I do the assignment to indicate that we have two objects, but in JavaScript it is not the case. When we assign a reference to another variable, both references would refer to the same object. So I can show you something like this in order to validate this situation. So if I want to compare the two objects to see whether they are equal to each other, I can just use two equal signs. Save. Reload. Yes, you can see that I get true. That means the two names are just referring to the same object. And that is something important to remember when we do the copying of references. We don't really do the copy of the object directly, so that we have two separate or distinct objects. But when we do the assignment in this way, we just assign the reference of the new vehicle object to the bus1 name, so that both of them refer to the same object. So this is something we have to really remember when we do the copying action of references. Okay. So this video has already covered many things about setting up an object. We know how to use object literals. We know how to set up the keys. And we are able to delete the content of a certain object. We also know how to use object constructors and object literals to set up empty objects. And we are able to do computed names. We are able to set up function expressions in order to set up objects. We are also able to realize that the key names can be more than strings. We know the way to use the in operator as well as the for in loop. Finally, we are able to do the referencing of objects very carefully. This is the end of the video. If you have any questions about my video, please leave your questions on the comment section below the video. If you like this video, please give me a like and please subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching.